Hey there guys, welcome to a new episode of Wall Street New Hustle. On this episode, we're going to talk about diminished value and loss of use claims. Now, I wanted to talk a little bit about diminished value and loss of use claim with Progressive. This is my own personal story. Me and my son had an auto accident on July the 20th this year. So we're driving. I have a large size SUV. So we're driving to Lowe's. I'm working on a 9/11 project. It was for the 20th anniversary this past September. So I've been to this Lowe's 1,000 times. So I'm driving and I see a white pickup truck coming towards me on my side of the road. And I'm like, okay, maybe he's gonna try to make a left turn, which he's not supposed to do that. So as I'm driving down, he's coming towards me. I'm like, he don't see me? I'm like, I know he sees me. He's on the wrong side of the road. So we get closer and closer. I'm like, because I really can't see his face. And the car's still coming closer and closer. And I'm like, I don't think this idiot even paying attention to me. So to get close, I said, okay. I said, he's not going to stop for some reason. And I can't go off to the other lane because that's where traffic exits the parking lot. So I'm a first responder firefighter. We always taught when you drive an emergency vehicle, you stay in the lane that you're in and you come to a complete stop. So if that other vehicle hits you, it's automatically their fault, not yours. And you don't veer off to another lane and cause an accident. So with that training, I told my son, I said, brace yourself. So I stopped my vehicle. I come to a complete stop. Now I can see his face. It's two people in the vehicle and then looking down at something. They never look up. So I'm blowing my horn. And so I go, bam, runs right into my truck. We get out, I'm upset. And he's like, well, where did I come? He said, where did you come from? I said, I was been here the whole time. I've been blowing my horn. I said, you didn't see me because you was looking at something or doing something. So it was a lady that was parked somewhere. She comes up and she goes and said it was my fault. And I don't know if she knew the people or not. So they started sharing information. She was supposed to be their witness. I said, lady, I have a camera in my vehicle. I said, don't worry about it. So I called 911. I tell them that the patients, the two people in the occupants in the vehicle, are ambulatory and alert times 3. Ambulatory means that they're able to walk on their own. I'm also an EMT paramedic with the fire department. So I asked for a BLS unit for me and my son to be evaluated. My son gets evaluated. I didn't see a need for him to go that time. So I said, okay, I'll just sign a refusal. You guys can go back into service. So the police officer comes, takes a report, and I asked the officer, I said, are you going to investigate this? Because he obviously was a distracted driver. He's on the wrong side of the road. I think he may be under the influence of something. The officer said he didn't want to do the report. Me and him argued back and forth. I said, you know what? I'll do it myself. So I called back in. So I had the ambulance to come back to the scene. So an incident, the officer was supposed to call him back, so I requested him to call back. He didn't, so I ended up transporting me and my son to the ER with my vehicle. So go to the ER, get evaluated. We're there for like 2 hours. So on our way back home, I get a text from my Geico, is my insurance policy, and it said, well, we will help you in your claim. I'm like, what claim? I didn't call you guys about nothing. So I get to the house. I called him. I said, what's going on? I said, well, you were involved in an accident. The claimant said they had bodily injuries, severe bodily injuries, and damage to the vehicle. Mind you, I took pictures before I left the scene. And plus, I had the camera in the car. So I uploaded the video and the still photos of the accident, showing that he had just a minor bump on his bumper. He was a Ford pickup truck. I have a Infiniti QX, which is... he basically destroyed the front end of the vehicle, whatever. So after that, I got in touch with his insurance company because we exchanged information on the scene, and I called them and I said, okay, well, I want my vehicle fixed. It was, I said it was their person's cause of the accident whatsoever. So I said I have a video from my dash camera. So it took me 2 days to upload the video to their server. So I ended up doing that, and they assigned me an agent through Progressive. So right away, the agent with Progressive was really combative. He was like, he really didn't care. He still was my fault. I was still on the wrong side of the road. And I said, sir, there's a camera here, and I'm a first responder. I've been doing it for almost 20 years. So what I did to make sure that I was on the right side of the road, I went back to Lowe's, and I sat there for over an hour, and I videoed every car that came in the lot and out of the lot to show what the proper way to come in, the proper way to come out. And then I actually drove the route with my camera operating. And I uploaded those as well to Progressive and also my insurance company. So 3 weeks go by, they still don't accept liability. So now I'm going to get frustrated even with the evidence. So what I ended up doing was I tried to find who was the CEO of Progressive, which is Miss Griffith. Teresa Griffin is the CEO. So I might be screwing her name up, but I found the information and I got her personal business email. So every time I email the person from Progressive, and I also got his supervisor, immediate supervisor email, I would email her. So eventually she got wind of it and put one of her executives that serves under her onto the case. So things start to kind of move up. So now a week after that, they accepted liability for the accident. So now we're just waiting for the vehicle to get fixed. So then I found a body shop, an Infinity certified body shop. And then it took another month or so to get it in because of the health crisis and the backlog with supplies and everything that's going on now. So I get it into the shop. Now I need a rental vehicle. So I said, I want a vehicle comparable to my big, large size SUV, which is a 7-passenger SUV, which they're required to give you that. So the Progressive agent calls me and he says, okay, we have your rental vehicle set up. I said, okay, fine. And I said, well, what is it? He said, it's a Nissan Kicks. I'm like, what is that? So I'm like, I don't know what a Nissan Kicks is, whatever. So I look on my phone. I said, it looked like a car. It's like a baby SUV, a car. And I called back. I said, look, I can't fit what I need to fit into that car, whatever. I said, and plus I have firefighter gear I need to carry, which I normally carry in that truck, whatever. I said, won't fit in the car. So he's like, well, that's all I'm going to approve. I said, what do you mean that's all you're going to approve me for? I'm required to get a 7-passenger vehicle. And I said, I'm working on a 9/11 project for Engine 10 Ladder 10, which is in Manhattan, New York, which was the fire station that was next to the Twin Towers that collapsed on 9/11. I built the model to the way it looked that morning. And he said, basically made some derogatory comments about that. And just basically whatever. And he said, well, why don't the fire department do it? I said, this is a personal project that I'm doing. I've been working on it for 3 years now. And some derogatory comments he made about that as well. So I said, okay, all right, fine, I'll take care of it. I emailed Miss Griffith again, and I told her, I said, I recorded the conversation, whatever. So either you want me to upload that to social media, or you get me the vehicle that I need. So he calls me back. He approves me a Jeep Cherokee. I said, Jeep Cherokee is a 5-seater. It's not equivalent to my vehicle. So we went back and forth again. I said, you know what? I'll deal with it later. I go to Enterprise to pick the vehicle up. I took photos of the vehicle all the way around, inside, the speedometer, and the gas meter. You always make sure you do that so there's no conflict. And mind you, it was a 7-passenger vehicle. It was a Chevy Tahoe sitting next to that. I said, well, why can't I get that? So the agent from Enterprise says, well, you need that agent to approve it, and it may take up to 2 to 3 days for him to approve it. I said, I don't have that type of time. I said, I'll take the Jeep. I'll deal with it later. So I ended up having to put all the seats down in the Jeep to get the model to fit. Me and my son drive up to Manhattan on September the 5th. And we delivered the model to Engine 10 Ladder 10 in time for the ceremony, which was on the 11th. And we went to the 9/11 Memorial, which is right across the street. And we left, went to O'Hara's, which is next to Engine 10. So we leave on the 11th. We drive the Arlington model, which is Crystal Cities, which was the first responding station to the Pentagon that morning. So we went 9/11 and delivered the model to that station in Arlington, Virginia, and stayed for the ceremony. President Obama and President Biden actually made the ceremony for the 9/11, which was in New York on 9/11. So I think some weeks go by, and I get my vehicle back. But I get a call from Progressive saying I need to return the rental in. I said, my car's not even ready yet. So it's like, well, you had to figure it out. I said, we may have to figure it out. I'm not returning the car back until I look at my vehicle. So maybe 4 days later, the body shop calls me. I go look at my truck. Everything seems fine with it. I looked underneath for everything. So then I returned the rental back in. So I washed it first before I turned it in. Made sure there was no scratches on it. Took photos all the way around inside like I did when I first got the vehicle. So there's no conflict whatsoever. So I returned it, parked it back in the same spot, whatever. And then I think a couple of days later, I started driving my vehicle, and I said, well, I want my diminished value claim. They said there was no diminished value, whatever. I said, the car is worth less now because it was in an accident. How did I not lose any value with that? So they refused it. I said, okay, I'll figure something out. So what I did was I took the SUV to the Infiniti dealership. I acted as if I was going to buy a new one because that's the only way they would pay attention to me. So I told them that the car was in an accident. This what happened to it, and had to they repainted. So what I did, I took all the paperwork from the auto body, left it on the front seat so they could see it, and they offered me $42,000 for it as a trade into a new vehicle. I said, okay, fine. Let me go home and think about it. I went across the street to CarMax, and I got them to appraise the vehicle as if I was going to trade in that way. Now, CarMax offered me $44,000, $44,500, somewhere in that neighborhood for the vehicle, whatever. So I was kind of surprised on that, and I told them the same thing about the accident. I left the paperwork on his front seat so they could see it. So then I call back to Progressive later on that day, and I emailed Miss Griffith, the agent, and everything, the paperwork from CarMax and the paperwork from the Infiniti dealership, whatever. And it was a $2,500 difference, whatever. I said, that's what I want. So then the agent calls me back the next day and said, well, we'll offer you $1,300. I said, I don't want $1,300. I want $2,500. So that's the value of it. And if you keep waiting, it'll probably be higher than that. So I might ask for $3,500 next week. So it's on you. So I said, okay, well, since your agent had a conflict with me about what I was doing, my 9/11 project, whatever, do you want me to, make an issue out of that? So I promise you, that was probably like 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By 4 o'clock, the agent called me and said they approved the $2,500 claim, whatever. I said, okay, now I want my loss of use, because I told him I needed a full-size SUV. He refused to give it to me, knowing what I would need the vehicle for the project, whatever. And so what I did was I went to Enterprise. A 7-passenger vehicle was $59 a day. The Jeep they gave me was like $39 a day, whatever. So I wanted the difference between times the 30 days that I kept the vehicle. So it ended up being $181. So I said I want that as well too. So I uploaded a copy of, because I got Enterprise to email me the payment, the difference, and I forwarded the email to them to know that I didn't just come up with this number. This was the company that you used came up with the number. So them give me a $181 check, and they gave me the check for the $2,500. So that's how I was able to get my diminished value and loss of use claim. But to say that, if I had 2 key points, I had a dash camera in my vehicle. This happened in my state of Maryland. If you do not go to the hospital when the ambulance shows up, the officer is not required by law to write a report. So if no report is your word against the other driver, which is 50-50, then you'll end up paying for your own damages and repairs on your own vehicle. Now, if you know it was the other person's fault, whatever, and you have no dash camera, when that ambulance gets there, you have to be transported in order to trigger that officer to write a report. Once he does that, then they can prove investigate who was at fault or at the accident. But if you have a dash camera, you don't have to do all that. So I advise you to get a relatively decent dash camera. Mine costs about $150. I've had it for like 4 years prior to this incident, whatever. And then the other thing, because I did record the conversation, every interaction I had with Progressive, and because of the agent making that derogatory claim and derogatory statements to the project that I was working on, I was able to use that as leverage because they didn't want me to put that out in the social media because it would make them look really bad. And then I was able to find the CEO's personal or business email. That was very important as well, because every time I interacted with the agents, I interacted with her. So there was no confusion that she can say that she didn't know anything about this incident, because I kept a paper trail with this. So this is my story about diminished value loss of use with Progressive Auto Insurance. And I'm telling you, every insurance company, they try not to pay out as much. That's their business of business. So it's at your discretion to do your due diligence and put in the work to make sure you get everything that you got out of the accident. Make sure you get your diminished value, loss of use. If there's a personal injury a case behind it, make sure you do your paperwork with that as well, because it's really gonna help you in the end. So this is my story in Wall Street New Hustle. You guys be safe out there. Thank you.